me. We love it when it works, and we love it when it doesn't, because that's not always what I would say.
I was going to say, that is not always what I would say either.
That would be a love-hate relationship, I thought.
Welcome everyone to Collaboration Conversations. It's always so fun to deal with the tech at the beginning, right? We love it. But welcome to the show today. I am so excited for you to meet our guest co-host today and the panelists that she has brought. So let me just introduce, please, Miss Heidi Medina. Heidi is just delightful. I absolutely adore her. We've had a couple of opportunities now to get together, and I'm really enjoying this relationship. Welcome, Heidi. Thank you for being our guest co-host this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too. Me too. So, Heidi, would you get us started with telling us a bit about your journey, who you serve, what you do, why that's important to you?
Well, so I am from the States, but I live in Portugal, and I have built an online business where I work with mostly service-based entrepreneurs and teams around the world. And it's about getting online and actually building networks that work for you, because, people, they don't refer followers, and yet that's all we're counting, right? Instead, they refer the relationships they build with people. And when you actually start using an actual conversation first marketing strategy, having actual conversations, building trust, building real relationships, then you get more referrals, more collaboration offers, and even more clients so much easier, because we've dumped all those old icky traditional sales tactics and stuff that we don't like to use anymore. So that's what I'm helping people do. And the people I love to help is, I like to say, women and enlightened men. I think we all know what I'm talking about on that one, because these are the types of people that I see trying to force through strategies and using marketing and sales techniques that just don't feel good to us anymore. It's stuff that affects our nervous systems. It just feels crappy and icky. And I'm able to help people release that and actually fall in love with online, whether it's networking events, social media, whatever it is, and feel good about it again. And so I think that's what's so important for me.
Excellent. Thank you. And I think you're right. And there's, it's marketing is such a crazy world these days. and changing rapidly as well, and so keeping up with all of that is challenging. Heidi, you have brought a beautiful panel of women to join us this morning. Would you please introduce each of them and have them share a bit about their journey, who they serve, and why?
Yeah, I'm going to start with the right on my screen.
Okay.
So Miss Cathleen, she's joining us from South Africa.
All right, thank you for that, Heidi. So great to see all of you on this call today. So first and foremost, I am a global investor, a global career growth magnet is what I call myself. So my skill has come from being in the US, being in the UK, being in South Africa, and being in other parts of Africa and also India. So my core business is about creating solutions for businesses that are struggling to fill current roles in business through a remote South Africa opportunity that allows us in South Africa to create careers for our people. So a passion for careers, but equally important, being able to be a global magnet, if we can be, to grow businesses for different countries where they do have the challenges with finding the roles more challenging. So that's me in a nutshell.
Love that.
And love sports. So when you get to know me, I'm following that rugby. I'm following cricket today in the Ashes, and England isn't doing well.
Oh, no. I didn't know that one about you, Kathleen. See, I'm learning too. Let's see. Miss Blyth is next on mine.
Hello, my name is Blyth. I'm a client experience designer. I'm kind of like Gordon Ramsay meets an Imagineer. I'm not going to swear at you, but I am going to throw some Disney magic your way. My mission is to help keep connection at the front of all of the decisions that we make. So we're making sure that you're avoiding burnout without making your clients feel like they're part of a cattle call. So, let's make your tech match your touch. I'm a systems girly at heart, and that's me.
Oh,
Awesome.
I love that. And let's see. Next is Miss Beth Ann.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Beth Campbell. I go by Beth or Beth Ann Elizabeth. I might think you're angry at me if you call me Elizabeth, but never Liz, because that's what I named my inner voice, my inner critic. So I am a former queen of corporate tech for 23 years. And 2 years ago, I traded in my tiara for a pen and a microphone. And I'm now an award-winning author and host of The Thirsty Professional, which is a live podcast where my guests and I grab a bevy, ditch the BS, and we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. So my entire career, whether it was in corporate or entrepreneurship, writer, podcaster, has always been about using my voice for others, speaking out, leaning in, being transparent, fostering situations where it's safe to be our authentic selves and share our passion and our wisdom. So I feel like I serve those who want to have a voice, but and or need to have a voice, but they can't find it, or they don't know how to use it, or maybe sometimes they've just lost it. And I'm thrilled to be here with my biz bestie, Heidi, and all these other wonderful women talking about conversation and collaboration. So thanks.
Yes. Yeah, Beth and I have been friends for what, 6 years now?
I shouldn't even say biz bestie. We're just besties,
know.
right? We're just
plain
besties.
But let's hear from Miss Jesica.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jesica. I am a producer, podcast producer, video producer, and also podcast host myself. Producer came first, host came second. And I got into it because I was just a geeky, techie person and loved the engineering side of it. I stayed because I fell in love with the entrepreneur journey and mindset and transformation and personal growth, and how I got to be a part of that and helping them put their messages out into the world. That made me feel like I was part of something bigger. And then in the last few years have jumped onto the other side of the microphone to be a host myself and have really been enjoying that as well. And so the two work together beautifully, and I get to meet and work with some incredible humans, and it just lights me up. And so I'm very excited to be here as well.
Awesome. What a great panel. I'm so excited about this conversation today. And as I'm listening to you, I kind of want to take this in a slightly different direction than I've gone before. I mean, every show is different based on who's in it. But I'd like for you to talk about what's been the hardest part for you of creating collaborative efforts, and how have you overcome that?
I was going to say, for me, I think the hardest part is everybody's on board to do a collaboration. And then the idea is, what do we do? Do we do an article? Do we do a podcast episode? And who's going to do it? Is it me because I proposed it? How do we divide stuff up? Like logistically, how does this come to pass? And that's always been a challenge. And then everybody's so excited, but then we all have stuff going on in our own businesses. Do we devote time to this? Is it worth it? How can we make it work?
Yeah, I can so relate to that.
I was going to say, I completely relate to that, Blythe, because everybody is on board. They're so excited. Let's do a collaboration. And then it comes down to it and people actually showing up and doing the work. That's a whole nother ball game. As far as overcoming that, one of the things I do is I'm actually working on this part right now, but I'm starting to do a little mini contract and where we put down what we're going to agree to, and hopefully everybody shows up. And I also, the other big thing I've noticed is I've started doing something really, really small first to test the waters. Because if people won't follow through on the small things, they're definitely going to follow through on a big event. So, because I've gotten stuck on a couple of big events before where people didn't show up. So,
yeah. That's not good, is it?
No.
Beth?
Yeah. So for me, I think the hardest thing is because I feel like I'm a little bit, and this is mostly inner thought, Liz, my inner thought. But I feel like sometimes I'm a bit of an outlier. So I was in corporate for many years, but I was hobnobbing with a lot of traditional entrepreneurs, and that's really the world that I live in. I still have a lot of corporate people in my network, but I mostly am collaborating with entrepreneurs, ex-corporate or just straight entrepreneurs. And I think for me, probably the hardest part has been just trusting myself. Like, what can I offer? I mean, because sometimes I
Mm,
feel like, oh, Beth, they're just looking at you. You're wearing this steampunk hats all the time, and you're a podcaster, and that's great and entertaining. But what can you offer? And I'm like, well, I'm 23 years in corporate leadership and in self-care and mindset. I mean, a lot of things. So I think it's been just overcoming my own inner critic.
mm. I
There is
see
a sense
heads
of self.
nodding that others can relate to that.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's definitely a sense of self that you have to kind of put forward of like, yes, I can contribute, and it matches the quality of what that other person can contribute. Whatever the mind is created as that other person,
Yes.
it's kind of a self versus self situation at that
It's
point
so
for
Mm,
true.
sure.
So true.
yes. Kathleen?
I think also what does sometimes change for us is that when you've had many, many years in your corporate world, you've had a big network around you. And whether you've been the MD or a senior exec, your voice was heard differently. So now when you are needing to collaborate, you've got to actually go on the other side. You've got to go and look at what are they needing, where are they coming from, and then
Mhm.
making you relevant.
Mm.
And that relevance sometimes doesn't happen because they're in a different journey for themselves as the business, and
Right.
businesses are changing so quick that your relevance must match quicker, because you can't,
Mm,
as much as you want your relationships, you want followers, all those words, you don't have years to take to get there. So,
yes.
and I think that is the biggest one. So collaboration is still a two-way street, but you will collaborate when you have the common goal and you can find the solution. So listening even becomes more. I think most of us on this call steered, directed. Now we got to do the other side of hearing what our client is wanting.
Mm,
Great point. Yeah.
yeah. Jessica?
You know, kind of on that same tone of the inner voice is, and I don't know if any of you struggle with this, but I've done a lot of work around this, but it still rears its ugly head sometimes, is that pitting people against each other and collaboration and the doubt and the like, are we really actually collaborating? Or, is somebody trying to get something out of this? Right? Or so there's whatever that is, programming still sneaks up on me every once in a while. And so I've really had to work to get over that and trust and move through to actually be a part of something magical.
Jessica, can I ask then, has there ever been a time where you went in to get into a collaboration and somebody actually did try and bait and switch you?
Yeah, which is
Okay,
probably why.
that's some
Yeah.
PTSD.
So yeah, it's the
I've been
evidence,
there.
right? But the one time out of like a gazillion other opportunities,
Sure.
right? So of course we always focus on the negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I had a huge project one time I was collaborating on, and somebody, the other person did none of the marketing. They showed up even late to the actual event, didn't get their stuff in, and really winged it through the whole thing. And it was a very professionally done event from my point of view. So, I mean, it hasn't stopped me from doing more collaborations, but it has made me take a step back and be a little more careful about who I do them with and that people are following through. And if I don't see people following through earlier in the process, I start making adjustments sooner rather than waiting till day of.
And that kind of leads me to the to the follow-up question here is, you've entered into this collaboration, you're working on this project together, you're seeing this potentially as a long-term relationship with this other person or other entity. And then you realize that this collaboration is not going to work, that you're not as aligned as you thought you were, that the values aren't the same, that the way that they're doing things is in direct opposition to the way that you would do things. What do you do? How do you deal with that? Because let's face it, it happens, right?
You got to have the talk. As hard as it is, you got to have the talk, and you got to be honest. You just do. And it depends on the collaboration and the way you did it to begin with. I
Right.
mean, I like to officially do stuff like this in writing, so that you have time to, but at the same time, I'm also one really big about face-to-face conversations, but sometimes, because it depends on how formal of a collaboration it was. But be honest.
It's
Yeah,
a
be
toughie.
honest.
Sometimes you have to just take the reins. I mean, I had a collaboration, a multi-year collaboration with my uncle who was writing a book about his recovery from abuse and addiction. And since I was the only author in the family, and because I'm sort of loud and, yeah, let's do it. But it was painful for a really long time. And it just wasn't working. He was writing in a way that was just really all over the place. So I just had to say, look, what can we do differently? So we started doing more video recording, and then I could use that to help him put the words on paper and fill in the blanks of the not great, or the more stream of conscious writing that he was doing. So sometimes you just got to step in and say, this isn't working. What can we do differently? And sometimes
I
you have
was
to
gonna
step
say,
away. Sometimes
it feels a lot like an us versus the problem versus like a you versus me. So I know when you first formed that question, I immediately heard, oh, this person and I are not going to work and we are against each other at that point. But the reframing of bringing it to an us versus the problem, which is the compatibility is found wanting. And so how do we evolve that into a space where we can kind of show our different strengths and both sides of the coin can like get some, screen time, for lack of a better word, like just in that collaboration, you evolve it into a different medium, for instance, or even just a different discussion. So like I could say I handle things one way and maybe my antithesis decides to like throw spaghetti at a wall and see what sticks. And we can talk about the pros and cons of both of those situations versus the original topic or the original direction we were trying to go in.
Yeah. Love that.
But it is still tough. It is still a tough conversation to have. So, and I think to maybe Heidi's point right at the beginning, it's how that relationship was formed is going to be maybe your most crucial.
Yeah.
So is it pen to paper and you go that route? Or is it where Beth says, let's find the common ground and we draw on each other's strengths? And I've had the misfortune where we did align, believed all our values were aligned, and then went to certain clients and saw complete misconnect to those values. And where a client looked at me and said, well, I want to work with you and not the other, and you're a business. What a very challenging position to be.
Oh, yes.
Then coming away and saying, we are different. Maybe you take that part, I take that part.
Yeah.
But you got to find the right place. Those are never easy conversations. And we all take out our books. So we've got words that can help us, to maybe word it in a way that you still leave comfortable. Yeah, because that again is important for us as individuals.
Yeah. Having been through, obviously, many of you have been through collaborations and you've had some hiccups come up in those. Having experienced that, what have you determined are the best ways to make sure that you are value aligned? Because, I mean, that's critical, right? That we have the same values. And that's such a large encompassing, it's how do you treat people? How do you, I mean, there's so many elements of values, right? That we could probably spend all day talking about that. But how do you determine that you are value aligned with this person or this entity?
Oh, man. Well, Heidi, you and I have had many conversations, even something as simple as, and maybe Jesica, you've run into this too, even something as simple as maybe you're doing a podcast swap or, and I've learned so much from Heidi and really taken a lot of time up front to make sure. I think for me, I have a vision, We have maybe there's an expected outcome, right? And I want to make sure that those expectations are clear. What do I expect from you? What do you expect from me? What are you getting in return? And I put it in paper. When I collaborate, certainly on a podcast, I make sure that you've read my guidelines. You have to press a button that says, I've read the guidelines. I understand what's expected. You're going to be able to share. I can't come back to you and say, no, don't take it off the internet. Well, too late. It's there. And here's my vision, right? I get very clear about, I'm going to swear on my podcast. I use a lot of humor. I want to be transparent. If you're not ready to be, you don't have to swear and you don't have to be super funny. But if you can't be transparent and talk about your journey, we're not a good fit and our values aren't aligned. And so it's a thank you and let's maybe find some other way to collaborate. But you just have to, just stick to what is your mission and your vision and the expectations and then make that happen however you need to on paper if needed.
I think building on that, what Beth said, and I think that's the thing too that I've noticed over the years of doing collaborations is not to jump in too fast. Actually get to know the person. And that's kind of earlier when I said, do something small together first. Like maybe we're going to comment back and forth on each other's comments. Or once a month, we're going to shout each other out in an email or whatever. But just start with something a little small so that you can start seeing how you work together. You can start learning values, because I've been guilty of this one where I meet somebody in a networking chat room, at a breakout room, and it's going so well and the energy's amazing and all of this. And you're just like, oh my God, I really want to work with you and let's do this. And you get off of that and it's like the other person just ghost you completely. And you're just like, was I imagining things?
All the
seems
time.
so aligned. And so I think that we have to take a step back because something like a good networking event really does get the energy hyped. Like a good conversation does the same thing to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I can come off these calls on a high, just from the good vibes. And so I think we have to take a step back from the excitement of it all and take the time to get to know the person, because it's a collaboration. You're working with someone. And by doing that, then you make sure your values are aligned.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Anybody have something to add to that?
No, I thought that was great. It's a pretty straightforward situation in the sense that you're right. It just has to be the people. As a client experience designer, as I tell myself that it's a lot about how they treat people, and you can kind of see that representation on how they show up for themselves. So are they in their own comments replying back? Are they genuine or are they copy pasted? Or when you get into a conversation with them, is it just the many chat giving off like all of the information in like, click here, plug in this, and yes, this is my answer, and book a call with me? And is it just a funnel you're speaking to, or is it a person? And so a lot of those things can kind of help me understand whether or not I'm in the same room as somebody. Because sometimes, like Heidi said, you get on a connection call where the room feels great. Even sometimes when you get on a one-on-one, the room can change. And then you're trying to salvage what you thought was visible back then and try and be like, well, where is this? Where can we dig this up in conversation? And you might have to just say, maybe not right now. Maybe they're in a different season. So maybe what you felt was still real, but just not real right now, and keep them in mind for a different collaboration as they grow, if it's something that you were actually interested in.
Excellent. Beth, did you have a comment?
Nothing to add. No, all great points. And I think, to my earlier point, I think, you learn too, right? And to Blyth's point as well, you go through these, you have these experiences where maybe it's a bait and switch, or maybe it's just, oh, whoa, on one-on-one, you're just completely different than what I saw on the networking call. Or I had a conversation just yesterday about somebody who was super pitchy and, but really, a great personality, but when you talk to them in person, it's just pitch. And you just learn to, I think smart, savvy entrepreneurs learn to adjust a little bit. For me, sometimes that's just mental adjustment. Sometimes it's I've added things to my podcast guest stuff, or the way I, write books or publish books or interact with people in DMs. You just tweak it a little bit because you've had those experiences, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and you have to tweak again, but you just live and learn.
Live and learn.
I'd like to add a little bit to that too, with the fact that I want to talk about how Jesica and I met. And we started collaborating. Is Jesica actually has sent me the only cold pitch to my email in 2025 that I've actually responded to and done a collaboration with. So it's how you start out talking to people and communicating with them that can make a collaboration happen or not. And Jesica actually took the time to get to know me and had obviously watched my YouTube videos before she pitched me. And I mean, she knew what was funny and what wasn't and that kind of stuff. So it was an immediate, when I got her email, it was just like this breath of fresh air from all those horrible cold pitches we all get. And it was an immediate, yes, I at least want to talk to you about go ahead and saying yes to coming on your show, because she had taken that time and effort to build that ramp for us to collaborate. And I think a lot of people don't always take it. They just assume or feel entitled just because I got a podcast. Of course you're going to come on. So I don't need to treat you better than that.
Oh my gosh. I just want to say, like, the amount of people, I'm very fortunate that I get to guest on this podcast and a few others, but there are people who see that I've posted something saying I'm on a podcast, and like vultures, they'll come out and be like, can I get a guest spot on your podcast? I was like,
Yes.
It's not even mine. You didn't even look.
You didn't read.
100% all the time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think all of this comes back to that mindfulness, like the mindfulness of what we're doing, why we're doing it, staying true to ourselves. And like to Heidi, what you said, like I internet stalked you hard.
You did. I didn't tell.
But, and maybe creepy, but it also is because, that thing, like when you want to get into something with someone, I want to know first. Like I don't want to be random. I don't want to be surface level. I want to be like, I want to know you. I want to have fun with you. And I want to do this. And I think that's being mindful of that process and along the whole way, even like to just kind of what you all said earlier too about collaborations. I think the mindfulness piece comes into all of it, and how we approach it, how we get out of it, how we work through it. And so to me, that's like the bottom line, I think, for all of it.
Excellent. So another thought that crosses my mind, when you're looking at a long-term collaboration, have any of you ever considered or done or conducted any kind of a personality profile and comparison between you and this other person to see where those strengths are, where those differences are, to see how you'll work best together? Anybody ever done that with either bank or an MBTI or a true personality profile like Rembrandt Advantage or Rembrandt Portrait or anything like that?
I have not.
Not in entrepreneurship, but I did work with a consulting firm where we did that for all of the managers. And I will say it's a great idea though, because it was very enlightening, because there were 5 of us and 4 of us fell into this sort of dominant area. And then 1 fell into this sort of introverted, but I can't even remember. It was a disc profile.
It was a disc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was reading about that person, I thought, oh, that's why they act and do the things that they do.
Exactly.
It's so foreign to me because I'm on the opposite side of the circle.
It gives you understanding,
Yeah.
and you can find those commonalities. And I've worked with personality profiles for years. I had a staffing firm for a number of years, and we used a tool that was validated for hiring. That was a personality profile, and I've continued to use that since the 90s. But it helps you really understand how we each come at not only introversion and extroversion, those kinds of things, but assertiveness and aggression and problem solving. Are they coming at it from a practical or big picture standpoint? totally different. We need both, right? And there's no right or wrong to any of it. There's just different, but it helps you appreciate the differences and recognize that, okay, because of these differences, you handle this part, I'll handle this part. And especially if you're going into a long-term relationship with this person, and this is going to be a big project, or, to really understand who you are and
I
who the
feel
other
like
person is. Go ahead, Blythe.
those are excellent gateways to empathy. If empathy
Oh,
doesn't come,
absolutely.
yeah, if it
Yes.
doesn't come easy to somebody, if you find it difficult to relate to someone, that's a beautiful gateway to be able to understand, like, just like Beth was saying, like, of just how somebody connects or communicates, or they might be enraged by this because they are an 8 on the Enneagram scale, or
Yeah,
whatever it
right.
is. It allows you to kind of give grace to others. And so I don't see it as a bad thing ever for you to
Yeah.
just pick one of the many different
One of the
personality tests,
many. Yes.
take it for 15 minutes, and then you can kind of just use that as a space. You're coming from a different space at that point when you evaluate somebody's actions.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems like
Yeah,
that would mitigate some of the things we talked about with like you get into it and then all of a sudden you're like, why is this person like this?
Exactly. Yeah, you get that understanding of where they're coming from. Just a quick sidebar. When I had my staffing firm, as I mentioned, we used the Rembrandt Advantage, and we also used the Myers-Briggs for team building. And we had my business partner and I had taken our staff out for dinner, and over dinner, we shared everybody's profiles with one another, so that the whole staff knew who they were, who everybody else was, and how to interact better. The next morning, we get a phone call on the way in. We had stopped and had breakfast together, and then we headed to the office, and we get a phone call saying, "We just had a cat fight." I'm like, "Oh, no, you didn't. We don't do that in our company." And we get to the office, as these two young women, they're both in their early 20s probably. And anyway, we took them into the conference room, and we put their profiles up on the board, and it was absolutely clear where the problem was coming from when we could look at their profiles side by side. We were able to explain that to them. I have a picture of them standing in front of the counter right afterwards, hugging each other. Did it eliminate all the problems? No, but it gave them that empathy that you talked about, Blythe. It gave them understanding, and they could come at it from a different perspective, understanding that this person functions differently than I do. And it's okay.
Well, I think I can add a little to that from that point of view. I think that comes back to also, I mean, we do these tests and stuff. I haven't had as much belief in them until, I'll be honest, till I run across the human design one, which has felt to me more authentic for me, coming from an autistic point of view and stuff. A lot of the personality tests don't actually work for me.
Yeah, a lot of them are behavioral. They change based on your behavior. So you have to find one that's not behavioral.
Yes.
If you really want mileage from it.
So most of them don't work as well. Like I worked for a company one time that did the DISC one, and they were like, "Oh, well, you're only in this category." And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, "Actually, that doesn't describe me at all." But I answered the test honestly, but it wasn't me in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
And I did the human design, I guess it was last year, with one of my friends, and she did it, and it was amazing how well that one really did match up. And I'm starting to notice, I ask people if they've done it, and we go back and forth, and I am starting to see where that feels much more real to me. But at the end of the day, it comes down to communication. We're not taught communication skills. We're not taught to actively listen and hear someone. Everybody thinks communication is them speaking. They don't realize the other side is the active listening and hearing. And that's how we gain empathy. Cognitive empathy comes from actively listening and hearing, not talking. And that's the piece I feel like so many people are missing. And we're not taught this basic skill of communication. We learn as a little one from our surroundings, but then we're not taught how to actually interact with people. And that's what's missing in a good collaboration. At the end of the day, I don't care if you're a partner in a marriage or just a partner like we are here, you've got to be able to talk to each other and be heard.
And be heard. Yes.
Yes. If you take anything away from that, it's that right there. Take that and run.
Yeah. Kathleen, what are you thinking?
So it's very interesting that when we were all in corporates, we were all comfortable to do this. And in actual fact, we put all our managers into the levels to do it. I will speak for myself. And then we were able to put them all in the boxes. Yeah. Yet if we put our HR, our people hats on, and our client and customer, how comfortable are we even to have that conversation? So the collaboration has got to be at a fundamental point where, Blyth and I can say, okay, let's do this. Let's see where we fit. But
Right.
you've got to be there to be able to say it and say it at the right space, because you might find an answer for yourself that you don't like, and then you've got to deal with it.
Yeah,
So this is not always the other side. You've got to listen to yourself. So, and it's been very interesting for me, because I often have been part of companies that started very small and became very large. And then when I look back, there was always a group of two or three that were identical, and the others would be all different. And then we would look back and say, we needed those differences to be successful.
Absolutely.
So that was, and I think that maybe over the years you've seen it that way. But today, as a young team leader, will be in that cat fight saying, I'm this, but I'm not that. And it is maturity, role, understanding, and Beth had a live example, a family member, this is how they did it. And if you did a test with them, they might not even been open to it. Yeah. So it's that, where does that conversation fit in?
Yeah.
I think they tend to be a little one-dimensional, I think, even though I did find value in understanding this other person. But I can't imagine in my current world asking somebody to do a personality test unless it was something as part of what I was doing as my business.
Right.
And I've done them for others just, kind of out of fun, because that's what they do. They, they incorporate them into their business. But I can't imagine going, oh, hey, yes, I'd love to help you write your book or have you as a guest, but I need you to take this, this, whatever it is, whether they're good or not.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Long-term relationships.
This would be
a little bit different from my perspective. But
it sparked my idea real quick with Kathleen, where she was talking about just honoring the differences and how that's not baked into our everyday lives. And we always want to form groups of people who are similar to us or connect close to us, and honoring the differences that other people can bring to the table and how that can be an asset to complete the whole picture. Not something we value, and it makes so much sense, and yet at the same time it's not what we're drawn to. I don't know if that's like a human thing or if that's just a society, the way it's set up. But how amazing would it be if the world could honor the differences of others and bring that into the fold? I'm dreaming of it now. That's my utopia.
That's a whole episode, Blyth. That is
that is indeed. And in companies, we tend to hire ourselves. If you're the hiring manager or you're hiring for a department, we tend to hire ourselves. We relate to that personality, and we just inherently do that. As I've had the opportunity to profile departments and companies over the years, and you'll see that in departments that everybody looks just like the manager. And what to your point, Kathleen, we need those differences in life. We need those differences in there. We need those different skill sets and different personality attributes to really get a full rounded organization. So awesome. Any further comments on that? No? All right. This has been a great discussion. I've enjoyed it tremendously, ladies. This has been excellent. I think we will move into our wrap-up round at this point, though. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Heidi to run our wrap-up round. So Heidi, you're going to call on everyone, including yourself, to provide your final thoughts on collaboration and your contact information. And while you're doing that, I'll put your contact information out to the world.
Okay, I'm still going to go with order on my screen. So Miss Beth, what's your final takeaway today and your contact details?
Yes. So final takeaway is such great ideas. We could, I think, go on forever, and multiple episodes coming out of this. I love the difference one. for me, I feel like I have spent so much of my career wherever I've been trying to be authentic. And I know that word is just overused and kind of cringy for some, but it's true. I feel like I'm the same person, whether I'm writing a book or hosting a podcast or guesting a podcast or in a comment or whatever. And I feel for me, that's the key is just always being authentic and transparent plays into that communication thing. And it just, even though I have those feelings of being the outlier because I'm not in a traditional service entrepreneurship, I still have opportunities because I try to be authentic and just get it all out there. So that would be my final word. And yes, LinkedIn is a great place to find me. I am Beth Ann Campbell. I am the one wearing some variation of a steampunk hat. And my website, bethancampbell.com, and with an E. And you can find all of my podcast, book information, as well as all of my social links there. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah. And Miss Beth Ann just published her third book, by the way, The R.I.P. Files.
My first novel.
Yay!
Miss Blyth, you are next.
Yeah. So my final takeaway is really, I just want to lean into the fact that when you started your entrepreneur journey, you are unique and original, and something that you bring to the table is very special, and it's important to just honor that. So definitely keep leaning into it. It's what makes your client experience important. You can find me at Quick Silk Solutions on Instagram, and quicksilksolutions.com is my website with all the rest of my socials that I do my best to answer.
And Blyth has an amazing Instagram, guys. I get to see
Oh,
it every
thank
day.
you. Yes, I lean heavily into the vintage brand.
She does. She does. It's very vintage in a good way. She's always a bright spot.
Thank you.
Kathleen.
So I want to share something I've learned today, and it is about our brand. So when Regina asked that question, do I say I'm Cathleen Gultig LinkedIn, or do I go Innova Arch? And the person said to me, do you remember, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, or do you remember their brands? So I'm somewhere in the middle right now. I haven't found that answer, but it did give me a moment to reflect on everything we have done, all of us together on this call. And when we remember each other, we remember the person. So maybe the person stands out more than just the brand. Yet Blyth, we won't forget because of the brand. Yeah. So don't have that answer yet, Heidi, but it's something to maybe think about. So I am Cathleen Gultig. You'll find me on LinkedIn. I shared that. And then my brand is Innova Arch. I rebranded this year. And Innova Arch is about innovation, arch, building, coming together. And I'd like to leave where my core business is to create careers for our people in finding solutions.
Oh, very nice, Kathleen. Yeah. And Miss Jesica, what about you?
My takeaway from today is two things. One, doing things like this they fill up my cup. I mean, like as an entrepreneur, sometimes you can feel like you're just out there floating by yourself. And opportunities like this are just incredible in terms of lifting you up and connecting with other people. And so thank you, first of all. And second, this is an enormous growth opportunity. As we've kind of discussed and seen, like we learn about ourselves, we learn about other people, we learn how to, be different and operate different. We learn more compassion and empathy the more we collaborate and the more we just, get over ourselves and put ourselves out there. And so, that's just something that I've taken away from all of this, is that it's an enormous opportunity for personal growth as well as connection and filling up our cups. And so just excited about this. And my cup is filled from being here today. So thank you so much. And everything is on my website, thepossibilityperspective.com, my podcast, my services to help other people, and all of the links to my socials are there as well.
Yeah. And Miss Regina, your thoughts?
Well, And I echo what Jessica just said. I mean, this is one of the highlights. Doing this show is one of the highlights for me. It is so much fun to meet everybody, to feel the energy in the room. You know, it just lights up my day, and I love it. So it's, but I think collaboration is, I think it's my middle name. You know, it's so important to me. And there's an element of collaboration that is also very important to me, which is the win-win-win aspect. That everything I do needs to be a win for you, a win for me, and a win for whomever we are dealing with, or whoever it's for, our clients, whatever that is, our audience, whatever that audience is. It's got to be a win-win-win, or I'm not interested in doing it. You know, one of the things I like to say is 1 + 1 does not equal 2, it equals 11. You know, as we work together, we compound that dramatically. And I love collaborations. So I thoroughly appreciate everything that you have contributed. This group has contributed to our conversation.
Here, here.
Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you. Yeah, and the wrap up for me is, yeah, definitely. You know, there's something about collaboration that it makes business, life, everything so much easier when we're surrounded with people we can do this kind of stuff with and build those types of relationships. So that's my big one is takeaway is to make, you know, just really lean into that, because you're going to find your business so much easier. You're going to get people referring you, introducing you, just being supportive. I mean, having a bad day, you got people you can reach out to, right? So but without that idea of collaboration, and collaboration is, yeah, it's not one-sided. It's about giving and receiving, and it's important to have it all the way around. So that's my really big one today, as always, because I'm with Regina. Collaboration is huge for me. The more people involved, the better. Yeah, and as far as being able to find me, LinkedIn, Heidi Medina, and also talktoheidi.com.
Excellent. Thank you, ladies. You have contributed greatly to our work on collaboration. I thank you so much for being here today. And we thank our viewers for watching today, or whenever you're seeing this. And we hope you'll come back and see more on Collaboration Conversation.